Hey guys, and welcome to Relationship Chronicles. Today we have a cheating revenge story from one of my subscribers that I will walk you through with, and afterwards, I'll give my opinion and advice to this subscriber on how to deal with this situation. Here we go. Revenge is a dish best served soiled. This is the story about how I found out my girlfriend of over 3 years was cheating on me and how I went about getting my revenge. This happened over a year ago, so it's been good to get it all down. Been thinking about it for a while. Certainly feels cathartic, and I've tried to make it as entertaining as possible. Thanks in advance for reading. I suppose firstly I should start by telling you how I met my girlfriend and what she came to mean to me. I first met Sarah at a yoga class in the summer of 2016. Never in my life did I think I would see myself going to something like that. The silly spandex, the holier-than-thou attitude, the way everyone talked to each other like they were fucking high. It's not something I ever imagined myself doing, but when I hurt my back after falling from a first-floor roof at work, I decided to give it a shot on the recommendation of my back masseuse and found a hall in my city doing beginner yoga classes. When the day to go came and I walked through the door, I instantly stuck out like a sore thumb. Everyone was standing around talking, dressed to the nines in their best yoga gear, while I sauntered in wearing bog-standard shorts and t-shirt, looking like someone from a cowboy flick walking onto a sci-fi movie set. I immediately wanted to about turn and leave, of course, but the woman doing the class seen the look of pure terror in my eyes and came up to me and said hello. I told her why I was there and that I didn't feel very comfortable, but she insisted that I should give it a try, as she thought it would help my back problems. And if not, well, no harm, no foul. I felt better at that point and thought, fuck it. Might as well try and get my money's worth, even if I do end up looking like a diseased pretzel. It was then that I looked across the room and seen the same look of terror that I had no doubt been portraying. That was Sarah. She had not long found out she had scoliosis, after years of being misdiagnosed and told that it was all in her head, among other things. She was there with her mother, who was with her for emotional support and to see how she got on. After seeing her, I instinctively gravitated towards her in the same way that a drowning person gravitates towards a life ring thrown at them. After the yoga instructor had a chat with her, she shouted me over and said that it was Sarah's first time too, so maybe we should sit next to one another and give each other a bit of support. I said that was cool with me, and she also smiled and nodded, so I walked over. We hit it off right away. My emotions went from a bit of embarrassment to serious amusement as we both attempted to fit in with the rest of the class. After the class was over, we were still talking away, and I felt a genuine connection and butterflies in my stomach. And as we said goodbye, we caught each other's gaze, and she smiled at me with a purity that for the first time in my life made me feel weak at the knees. I wouldn't have gone back in a million years had I not met her, but I decided to go the next week, and when I walked in the door, I got those butterflies in my stomach again and was hoping to see her face, but she wasn't there. As I was sitting there, I felt this feeling of pure dread and was sat thinking, what the fuck am I even doing here? I felt this sadness that was hard to describe. It kind of reminded me of when I went to this holiday caravan park when I was about 12 with my gran and cousins, and there was this big center with pool tables and amusements and all that stuff. I remember seeing this girl there every night for a week, and I instantly fell in love with her. Didn't say a fucking word to her right enough, but psyched myself up so that I was gonna try speak to her on the last night at the disco. But when we went down, she wasn't there. I'll never forget that feeling of sadness as we went home. That girl had walked out my life, and she probably didn't even know she walked into it. Before we continue, please like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. I felt the same aching sadness when I didn't see Sarah. I knew nothing about her, had no way of contacting her, and felt this surreal sadness that was hard to quantify. About 4 months later, I was working on a roof repairing a truss damaged in a storm when we decided to stop for a break. As we made our way back to the van, the house owner came out and asked us if we wanted cups of coffee. We accepted, and she came out with coffee and biscuits. As soon as I seen this woman, I just knew her face from somewhere, but couldn't for the life of me place her. It wasn't until that night after racking my brains that I realized it was at that yoga hall I had seen her before, and it was Sarah's mother. The next day I was back finishing the job, and the same thing happened. We stopped for a break, went down towards the van, and the woman came out asking if we wanted some coffee. After we finished up, I took the cups and biscuit wrappers back, and as I was passing them over to her, I asked how her daughter was, and was she still having back problems? She looked surprised but smiled at me and said yes, then asked how I knew her. I replied that I'd spoke to her at a yoga class month back. She laughed and said she remembered me now. I then gave her a card with my number written on it and asked if she could maybe get her daughter to text me as I wanted to get back in touch with her. Shoot my shot, I thought. Wish I fucking hadn't now. I got a text message that night from Sarah asking how I was and that she had looked for me again at the yoga hall, but I wasn't there. Turned out she had gone back the week after me as she thought it was weekly. We met up. Soon after, really hit it off again, and after 8 months she moved in with me. She was funny, smart, and sweet, as well as being the most uniquely beautiful person I'd ever met. She had a whimsical beauty to her, pointed ears and defined features. She reminded me of a she-elf or something. I truly thought I'd found my soulmate. She had moved into my home, and everything was going great guns. She was on disability and got personal independence payments, and was getting steroid injections for her scoliosis, which along with painkillers and exercises were keeping her pain at bay. We would alternate the cooking while she done the cleaning and took care of our cat Mitzi. I was also making good money, so we were in a comfortable position financially. When I got back from work, we'd always be doing things like going out walks or the like, just always in each other's company. It was at this point I was seriously contemplating proposing to her. Things changed around Halloween 2019. Our sex life was always very active, but there were times when she occasionally wasn't up to it, and I was fine with that. We'd work around positions that were comfortable for her due to her back problems, but I'd say in general she had a high sex drive. Well, around October she started complaining a lot about her back hurting more, especially just before the times we'd usually go to bed together. Anytime we did have sex after that, it wasn't passionate or intense. It felt like we were going through the motions. She started complaining while we were in the middle of it, so at that point I'd stop, of course. I started feeling really sexually frustrated, but I was positive that it was just a blip and that we'd get through it together. Thing is, she seemed fine in other aspects of her life. She seemed happy. The first real red flag for me came in December when she completely stopped showing me affection. She just became cold towards me. She seemed repulsed when I put my arms around her or tried to take her hand. She was the one who was so touchy-feely, hands in hair, constant reaffirming touches, kisses, and cuddles. When we'd sit on the couch, she'd basically be on top of me. That all completely stopped. Didn't for Mitzi, though. Yes, that's right. I ended up jealous of our cat. At this point, we were in the new year, and I suspected her of cheating. She had become downright hostile towards me. I started trying to up my workload around the house, but nothing was good enough. I ended up constantly being belittled and walking on eggshells, couldn't do right for wrong, and was starting to become a humorless shell of my witty former self. One night I got a hold of her phone and looked through it. Nothing. Was clean as a whistle. Weren't even any messages from her friends or her mother, which I found weird. Was then that my friend told me that if we were on the same plan, then I could check on the carrier's website and see all the activity from her phone. We were on the same plan, and I paid for her phone. That night I logged into my BT account, navigated to mobile, then her number, started to sift through, and there it was, thousands of texts and calls to this one specific number. It had started 6 months previous, and it had dates, times, and how long the calls were. She'd be speaking to and texting this person for hours and hours while I was at work, deleting everything before I got home, then going cold turkey when I got back. Let's move on to my thoughts and advice for the person that is dealing with this problem. Your story is a roller coaster of emotions, from a serendipitous meeting to the deep pain of betrayal. The initial connection with Sarah at the yoga class is beautifully described, and it's evident how much she meant to you. The subsequent revelation of her infidelity is heartbreaking, and the emotional toll it took on your relationship is palpable. The journey from love and trust to suspicion and discovery is well captured, creating a vivid narrative. It's clear that the story is a cathartic outlet for you, allowing you to express the complex emotions tied to this experience. Overall, it's a compelling and emotional tale of love, loss, and the desire for revenge. I wish you the best of luck moving forward. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care.